In this lecture, we're going to write the code to be able to display the messages within the thread. And earlier, we have the connection that allows us to actually see the page details. So we have the thread and all the messages that should appear here. They don't appear yet because there isn't any associated to those specific conversations. That's not a problem. We can add some mock data very soon. But first, let's write the method to load those messages. So inside of Xcode, what you would want to do right now is go to the thread details view controller where we have the scroll view to display them and where we have the thread that contains the messages. And we had this logic here earlier, but let's change that to create a new function that would load those messages. So just do func load messages. And we're going to use the thread. So guard let thread is equal to thread. Else we return. So basically, if we don't have a thread, we return, so it would appear empty. So let's add an offset to display those conversations. So var current offset y, because current y offset, because every time we add a new message, we need to offset and go a bit down, right? And that's going to be CG float. How do I know this? Because the data that you write inside here, those specific numbers that you see here are all in floats. So let me select, for example, the scroll view. So those numbers are float numbers. That's how I know. Okay, so CG floats. That's the measure. Okay, so going back to the thread details. Now let's iterate through all the messages within the thread. So for message in thread.messages. Well, let's see if the message is a text message or an image. So if let text is equal to message.text. So basically, if the text exists, let's also say that the text dot length or the text is not empty, right? Because the text could be empty, right? We don't want to show it if it's empty. So if it exists and if it's not empty, then we can create a label and add that label. So let label is equal to UI label. So we're creating a new label. And let's add the text to that label. Label.text is equal to text. And obviously, I don't know if you saw, I'm not changing the font, the format. I am not touching the cosmetic of that label right now. I'm just working on the basics. And label.number of lines is equal to 0 because this is going to take, it could be 1 line or it could be 10 lines. I don't know yet. And then we do label.frame is equal to, let's create a rectangle for that frame. So x 20, y, so we start at 20, y, we start at the offset, right? Right now it's at 0, but every time we're going to increase it. And then the width would be the scroll view dot frame dot width minus 40. Why 40? Well, because we choose what would be the max, right? Oh, I'm sorry, it's dot width minus 40. There we go. Because we choose how big this would be, right? So we're going to decrease it by 40, and then the height would be, well, the size of that, which I'm going to put 0. Why? Because we have because we're going to make it size to fit, and let's do it. Let's fit it to the size right below. So label dot size to fit, and that would take the space that it actually needs. All right. Then let's add this label. Scroll view dot add subview, and we're going to add that label, right? There we go. And then let's add the offset. So current y offset plus equal label dot frame dot height. So now we have the size to fit that will automatically take the space it needs. And let's add a little space in between. So plus 10. So that's extra space, right? Extra space between messages. There we go. And so that would add the text. Yes. Okay. So the reason why is that the text is not empty. So what we need to do, it's never empty, so I don't need this part. I can just do if let text or if message.text. There you go. If message.text is not empty, then we do this. And here that would be message.text. There we go. And so that's if it's not empty. It's complaining about the current y offset because it's a CG float. So I'm going to copy and paste it here. It needs to be initialized. So it's equal to 0.0. We start at 0. So now it's not going to complain anymore. Okay, so that's one. And let's look at this. Okay, and okay, it stopped complaining. It's because I needed to initialize it. All right. And now, so that's if the message of the thread is a text. Now, there's another way. The next one is that if the message is actually an image. So we'll have to do that in the next lecture.